Hello, friends.
Hello, everyone.
How are you? This is, tonight that we're doing this is the 17th of November, but you're going to be seeing this on the 20th. So this is pre-recorded, but it's still us, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So normally we, excuse me, normally we start with the birthdays, so I guess we can do that.
Oh, birthdays.
All right. Starting with November 1st, Tyler Aarons and Devin. The 2nd, Dino Tadiska. The 4th, Sherry and Annie. The 5th, Tom Ross, Ellie Doyle, and Caitlin. The 6th, Michelle Stump. The 8th, Maria Marciano. The 9th, John Marciano. And the 9th, Amy Huber. The 11th, Ryan Ayan. The 13th, Cheryl Solito and Missy Chick. 14th, Nadine Davies. The 15th, Kev Gowan and Corey Carter. Today, Matt Kiefer. The 18th tomorrow, Bobby Burns and Tanya Smith. The 23rd, Angie Havens. The 26th, Margie Stone. The 29th, Felicity and Christine Elaine. She's going to be 54. And the 30th is Wesley Slatt. And also the 26th is the 1-year birthday of xjwfriends.com. So those are the birthdays for March, for November.
And if there's ones that we missed, let us know the next time we have an interactive program. So
we got the birthday song, Happy Birthday, all November.
Just in case you can't get it, Vern, we can sing. Take you off the hook. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear November babies.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday! Happy birthday!
Well,
we can do the anniversaries,
yeah,
right?
Anniversaries. Yeah.
And if you get that pulled up, Vern, we'll listen to. Okay, so there's a few anniversaries. You want to read the anniversaries?
No, I don't have
Okay.
my
All right,
glasses.
I didn't want to leave you out. Okay, the 5th is Rich and Tanya. They were married in 1983.
ST co-pilot and wife, 42 years. Congratulations. And
It's just
where
the
else?
red. Right here, just the red.
Sam and Bev.
Okay.
Oh, on the 14th, November 14th. And the 15th, Ted. Hello, Ted Arigato. And wife. Right?
Right.
Arigato.
Yeah.
21st, Mr. CIA, you know who you are, and wife, 54 years. We're working on it too, but you're ahead of us. Good for you all. Love you.
And I think that's it.
That's it.
If there's any more
Let us know.
anniversaries, let us know. And if I don't know, Vern, if you had the music for it, that's fine.
If not, there's no happy
Yeah,
anniversaries.
no, not that we sing, but
Oh,
Vern put together.
happy anniversary to
To you.
Happy anniversary,
Yes,
y'all.
and many, many.
We're about to have a beautiful time. About to throw a party tonight. Hey. It's been a really long day for me. I should be living my life. Hey. Because time won't wait for me. I ought to throw a party tonight. Hey. Me and my friend, and I'll be happy that I made it. Yeah. to the end of the day. That's right. So I guess I throw a party tonight.
Hello
Thank
again.
you.
Nice party. I hope you have a nice time in your anniversary. We recognize that it's no small feat to conduct a happy marriage, and it's something that you've all grown through. You have to grow through it. You have to. I know we found that. And in fact, that theme about growing is going to be even woven into the video too that we have. So see what you think about it, and then the discussion can come up later on it. Later.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So anytime we can get the video going, we can do that. It's 20 minutes.
It's 20 minutes.
And what's going on, what that's talking about is the same thing that's been happening among us as well as in the general population. So let's see.
Hey, everybody. So we're going to get back to our larger documentary projects because that's really where our hearts lie. And this whole situation that is unfolding is...
We have a secret language now, okay? And she's leaving us Easter eggs in our secret language.
It's like a train wreck. It is very hard to look away from it, but I think I'm going to have to because it's like staring into the abyss for real. But this one more thing. I can't help it. We have to have this discussion because this is happening. Ivy League students, this is a headline and it's not a parody. This isn't The Onion. This is an actual headline. Ivy League students offered crayons, Legos, and cookies with milk to cope with Trump's election win. Harvard and Penn State are giving students the day off. There are professors at Princeton who are postponing exams. There are students at various schools who are allowing their grades to be changed later for the stress they have now gone through during this election. They're getting out of homework, they're getting out of class, and Georgetown University built a self-care suite. This is the level that things are at in Ivy League colleges. I don't even know anymore how much is being charged to these kids and their families for going to these very, very expensive schools that we're supposed to in our society revere as the most elite educational facilities we have. And this is the way that they are treating their adult students. You had professors at Columbia University and its sister school, Barnard, sending emails for people to take school off and take care of themselves. The classes are being canceled. And we just need to breathe. We all just need to breathe because it's so heavy. But they'll keep the classroom open for people to come if they want a space to reflect. An adjunct professor of international and public affairs at Columbia, who apparently served on the Obama administration White House Council on Women and Girls, canceled class and said, "Although I planned a tentative lecture on modern polling methods and their blind spots, it feels a bit tone deaf to deliver that today." You mean the day after an election? That is the perfect time to deliver a class on misleading polling methods. That's exactly the time you want to deliver that class. Why would that be tone deaf? Organizers at Dartmouth encourage students to be off the grid the day after election or come back to attend a decompression dinner. Bring a book or a craft to a listening circle for the supportive environment, about the reflections, they're treating these people like they're children. Look at this headline: Legos, cocoa, and coloring books for students. At the McCourt School of Public Policy, officials are offering mindfulness options. Now look at this agenda, which comes from the school's director of student engagement. Tea, cocoa, self-care, a Lego station, coloring and mindfulness exercises, milk and cookies and Legos, snacks and self-guided meditation to recover from this. There are more educational activities taking place in preschools than this. I just want to point that out. Look at this. In recognition of these stressful times, be good to yourselves, check in on your friends. They're acting like 9/11 happened and it was an election. You know, I was in college in the 2000s. I was driving to campus on the day 9/11 happened, listening to NPR, wondering if the country was at war because we had no idea what was going on. And we all went to school. And did they offer us milk and cookies and Legos on 9/11? No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They did let people go home, though, because everyone was very upset and we did not know what was going to happen. And thousands of people were dead. So it actually was a stressful event. An election is something that happens every 4 years. Every 4 years. This is going to happen in 4 more years. This is just reality in this country. That's how our election process works. And by the way, the McCourt, the Georgetown University McCourt School of Public Policy, these are people that are going to affect diplomacy in the future with these degrees. They offer undergraduate and master's degrees in public policy. It says right here on their website that their foundational skill set is based around things like critical thinking and engaging with bias. It actually says that here, that engaging with bias is having the ability to relate to and learn from people with different backgrounds and perspectives and being open to evidence that may challenge your prior conception. But they obviously don't think their students can do so. They don't even think their students can handle the basics of an election, that they didn't get the person they wanted elected in the election. They're giving them milk and cookies and coloring books. And they did this at other schools too. There's many, many schools, like Missouri State University had a self-care no phone zone space with coloring pages, calm jars. I don't know what a calm jar is. Calm jars, coloring pages, and sensory fidgets. Northwestern University offered students a post-election wellness space with puzzles, crafts, games, snacks, and brain break activities. And Princeton offered art build processing space. Harvard Divinity School had a whole community care day, which included office hours with Sunshine the puppet. Office hours with a puppet. Okay. Because the election was so devastating for these people that it says many of us are feeling frustrated, scared, and uncertain, a whole mishmash of mostly not good emotions. I mean, you could pull that sentence off of here and you could put it in the mouth of one of those people that has puppets, like a puppet show, like Sesame Street. That's the way they used to talk to us when we used to watch Sesame Street when I was like 5 years old. And that's how they're talking to adults. Professors at Columbia are making classes optional and giving students passes on exam work, and they're giving people participation points in biology classes now, even if they don't show up. And they're allowing students to replace their midterm exam grades with their final grades if they do poorly, in recognition of the increased, quote, stress some of you might be feeling because of the election results. At Emory School of Medicine, which presumably is a school that teaches doctors how to be doctors, deans and administrators are sending emails to residents and fellows to check in post-election to ask if they have any feelings of anxiety about the future and reiterate that they are there for them during these challenging moments. They are treating these people like babies. They're treating them like little tiny babies. I went over to Yale trying to see what was going on over there. And I came across this article, and this is where I actually just stopped and went, okay, I obviously just am so in another reality that I didn't realize this is the level that we're at in this country. Like, I obviously just don't know where we even are anymore as an adult living in America in 2024, because this is a headline: Yale bleeds, champions menstrual equity and social justice on campus and beyond. What? Through workshops, art, and community partnerships, Yale's Menstrual Equity Organization tackles period poverty, challenges stigma, and confronts institutional barriers to access. I had to go look some of this up. Apparently, it actually just has to do with some people can't afford tampons, and so they're going to get it to where people can have those in the bathrooms on campus. Well, that makes total sense. They used to have them in the bathrooms on campus anyway. So I don't know what's happening now that we have to act like it's not equal anymore, that half of the population has a period. But then you go down in here and it's talking about how they're having abstractionist painting workshops using the colors associated with period blood textures and smells. That's a sentence. To facilitate engagement to focus on your identity as a menstruator. And that's in quotes, menstruator. And that they're going to do it the day after election day because it's really important to provide a space for students to process their feelings about the incoming administration and reproductive health. And tomorrow, they're going to have a uterus cookie making workshop. This is a thing. Look, this is on their website. This is reality. This is not an SNL sketch. This is real life. They're going to paint pictures with the textures and smells of period blood and then make uterus cookies at Yale. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. Okay? As menstruators, which by the way, as a woman feels incredibly dehumanizing to we're not going to call ourselves women anymore. We're going to call ourselves our bodily functions now. It's completely dehumanizing. I feel like it's completely dehumanizing and gross. I actually think it's gross personally, but hey, you want to call yourself a menstruator? Fine. But I feel like it's incredibly dehumanizing. I mean, are people who, take dumps going to start calling themselves, you see what I'm saying? Like we could do this all day. That's just a thing your body does. How is that an identity now? I don't understand this. I actually don't comprehend it. And so I'm going to use a word that I've been using all year, which Aaron says is now a drinking game in our house because of how many times I brought it up. But it's called
infantilizing.
Infantilization. That's absolutely correct. Infantilization.
I'm sorry, you're really lucky I didn't bust out laughing earlier.
It's a real word. And this is what these schools are doing to these people. These are supposed to be people, they are supposed to be adults. These are supposed to be adults. This is our future in this country at these Ivy League schools. And they're treating them like they're 5 years old or even in just preschool. So infantilization is a verb, and it means to treat or condescend to as if still a young child, to reduce to an infantile state or condition, to reduce a person to the state or status of an infant, to keep someone infantile, to treat them like a baby. That's infantilize. This is infantilization. It is institutional infantilization by just telling these kids that you should come have milk and cookies and play with Legos. You're actually giving them the message that that's how they should respond, that these meltdowns, that these complete breakdowns, these inabilities to handle reality are normal. You're normalizing this behavior. This is what you're doing as a school, as an institutional practice. You're normalizing the infantilization of adults, practically ensuring that next election, they're going to act worse and be able to handle it even less. That is what is being done to this. It's actually a disservice. This is actually harmful. I think this is harmful. And you have charts being put out like this one, this map. If having a degree was a requirement to vote in this election, this is what it would have looked like. Because far and away, the vast majority of our universities and colleges are left-leaning institutions. You've had studies put out on this. Back in 2020, Democratic professors outnumber Republican ones 9-1. There was a whole thing that came out of the National Association of Scholars, and they talked about this, how this divide has grown rapidly. And it says the concern is grounded in research on confirmation bias, group polarization, motivated reasoning, and the tendency for these phenomena to be even more pronounced among the highly educated. Consistent findings from this work is that although the ratio of faculty who identify and are registered as Democratic versus Republican varies across departments, it almost always favors the Democratic Party. Secondly, Democratic to Republican registration ratio is typically higher among disciplines in the humanities and social sciences as compared to the natural sciences and engineering. Third, Democratic to Republican registration ratio has increased over time. It was 4.5-1 in 1999. Now it's 10-1 today among elite liberal arts colleges and social science departments. And that the partisan slant is the most extreme in the most highly rated institutions. So I don't know why it's being put out here that it's a measure of intelligence to say that if you send a bunch of 18-year-olds to extremely left-leaning institutions, they are going to emerge also left-leaning when almost all of their professors are left-leaning. Why is that a surprise to anyone that is how it would go down? You're sending people there in their very formative years where they're very first becoming adults from children, and they're surrounded with extremely left-leaning partisan people. You think that's not coming across in their classes? Some of that was coming across in my classes even back in the day. But it wasn't as pronounced as it is now. So they're overwhelmingly liberal. And then, of course, the people who graduate from there become liberal. That makes sense. I don't know why, that's not a measure of, well, that just means that all Democrats are more intelligent. It means that the majority of our higher learning institutions are Democrat, and they're shaping the foundational views of emerging adults who are also Democrat after they leave there. Ashley St. Clair shared this map, actually, and she said, what do you call an institution in which everybody who enters it leaves with a uniform political ideology? I mean, that's what's going on. So now we're infantilizing people, and it's not just the people who go to these colleges. It's not just the leaders of tomorrow who are going to these Ivy League institutions who are coming out this way. You have MSNBC having a Yale University child psychology fellow going on the air. So they're doing kind of an appeal to authority, trust the experts type of deal by having a Yale child psychology fellow come on the air and talk to everyone, telling people to cut their friends and family out who didn't vote the way who voted for Trump for the holidays.
I think just a societal norm that if somebody is your family, that they are entitled to your time. And I think the answer is absolutely not. So if you are going to a situation where you have family members, where you have close friends who you know have voted in ways that are against you, like what you said, against your livelihood, and it's completely fine to not be around those people and to tell them why, to say, I have a problem with the way that you voted because it went against my very livelihood, and I'm not going to be around you this holiday. I need to take some space for me.
And acting like that's an expert opinion, that it's normal to do that it's normal to cut out your family if they don't agree with you politically. Which, by the way, is exactly what cults do. Cults isolate people from people who could challenge their views, who could challenge the views of the cults. That's straight out of the cult playbook of cult programming, to isolate people so that they're only around other people who share the cult's views. That's completely what that is. And they're parading it on the news as if it's news. This is a thing that's happening to our country. This is happening. I don't know what the answer is, but the other day I watched a video, and I'm not you guys know on this channel, TED Talks are not my favorite thing in the world because a lot of times they're formulaic and they do the TED Talk hands, and it makes it very hard to just listen to the person who's presenting sometimes. Feels very contrived. But I did watch this Dr. Susan David. She was talking about emotional intelligence, and she brought up a really good point that I think needs to be considered.
I like being happy. I'm a pretty happy person. But when we push aside normal emotions to embrace false positivity, we lose our capacity to develop skills to deal with the world as it is, not as we wish it to be.
I think some of that is what is going on. I saw a person make a video the other day, and they were saying, I don't know why so many of you on our side, meaning the Democrat side, I don't know why so many of you thought that people were going to vote based on their identity politics, when the average person who votes is voting based on basic things like, can I afford the cost of living in society? Well, they thought that because they're coming out of a very progressive university that's treating them like they're children who can throw a temper tantrum when they don't get their way. If I could make a 2 to 3 hour documentary right now with no commentary whatsoever, just putting videos up of grown adults behaving like children after this election and turning on cameras and screaming and crying and throwing fits and making threats and melting down in ways that I would have given my child a timeout for when he was little, if he had behaved that way. And they're behaving that way, and they're older than me. And it goes back to this. When we push and embrace false positivity, people are losing their capacity to develop skills to deal with reality as it is, and not the illusion they have in their minds. This whole love and light crowd where it's always good feelings and good vibes all the time, and there's no such thing as a negative emotion. There's no such thing as anger, frustration, and depression. Can't even have those. So when you do, it's so alien and all-encompassing, you can't handle how to deal with you have no emotional intelligence. to deal with your negative feelings, which, by the way, serve a purpose. And this society has spent way too much time making people think that if you have a bad feeling at all, you need to immediately go get a pill for that because you're not supposed to even have that. That it's not right to have those, but they're there for a reason. That is how you learn about yourself. You actually learn what's wrong and what's actually making you upset. And then you learn how to process those emotions and deal with them. And this society is like, live, laugh, love. Okay, well, that's great. And being happy is great too, but it's not normal to just be happy all the time. And whenever they tried to normalize that idea, I think that's when a lot of this mental illness became a serious issue. You can't reject the negative emotions and pretend they don't exist and not feel them and not experience what that is. No amount of milk and cookies is going to fix that. And so now you have huge portions of society who are projecting the negative things they refuse to face in themselves, their fears, their anger, their disappointment, their frustration. They're projecting it on the rest of society like their own personal Plato's cave because the illusion doesn't match the reality. And when that happens, breakdown is inevitable. If you can't face yourself and your own emotions and truths within yourself, you're not going to be able to face it in reality either. But these universities are not helping by literally coddling and infantilizing these students. These are supposed to be adults. I can't believe these are headlines and not parody. Generations like mine, I've seen articles now that claim that if you were born in the 80s, like you're lucky you aren't dead. Because we were just out on our bikes riding around for hours. Our parents didn't know where we were. I would say by the time I was 10 years old, I was past the milk and cookies phase for my bad feelings about things that were going on. So if that tells you anything, but this is not how we handled anything, even not that long ago. I do not know what has happened in this country that we have gotten to this point, but this is very, very dangerous to the future of society, actually. And I wish I had more answers, but we could at least start with the idea that emotional intelligence means a full picture, not just one side. And I guess I'm just ranting again, but I don't know. These kind of conversations need to be had somewhere because this is insane. And it feels like it's just getting more insane. We're as much as people want to pretend like this isn't what's happening and be like, well, they just need to grow up. Well, they're not. They're not growing up. They're not growing up. They're going backwards. They're regressing. They're Benjamin Button, okay? And not even back into like a cute little kid, but into like a bratty, spoiled kid who has no idea how to handle reality. And this society for years and years now has really promoted the idea that if you're sad, that's bad. And you need to go take a pill for that or erase it instead of facing it and trying to figure out what is actually bothering you so that you can actually overcome that. We're not overcoming things anymore. We're just prescribing things and trying to ignore reality all the time. And that ignoring of reality may be what has gotten us here. You know what? As a society, we have to stop lying to ourselves. Reality is not a safe space. It will never be a safe space.
I don't want to try because I don't want to feel disappointed. Or I just want this feeling to go away. I understand, I say to them, but you have dead people's goals. Only dead people never get unwanted or inconvenienced by their feelings. Only dead people never get stressed, never get broken hearts, never experience the disappointment that comes with failure. Tough emotions are part of our contract with life. You don't get to have a meaningful career or raise a family or leave the world a better place without stress and discomfort. Discomfort is the price of admission to a meaningful life.
Well, did anyone notice anything that was present within the Watchtower arrangement? Your experience with the Watchtower arrangement is what they described in that college of higher learning. And that was like Harvard and Princeton and Yale. These were the top shelf, top shelf. They're talking about infantilizing. Projecting for the students a way of being a baby. They were actually projecting it toward them rather than helping them to grow up and face reality. Now, for what it's worth, we're 72. When we were younger, there was no such thing like that taking place in those colleges. Nothing like that. You go there, you grow up. You don't grow up, you get kicked out. You just don't make it at all. That's the place to grow up and become productive, a useful citizen. Well, interesting, it changed. And it didn't change by accident either. There was an agenda to purposely introduce that situation into the society in general, in this world, not only in the United States, but worldwide, but to lower everything, all the standards of human behavior, so as to control them better. In other words, to lower the morals, to lower the maturity level and the awareness level, the emotional maturity. It was all designed, by design, to treat people and keep them like babies, not allow them to grow, not allow them to go through a development and maturing. We watched it happen. It's interesting. My father worked in the government all his life, and this is back in the 60s, and he told me that basically that's what spies are. Spies are people, families, that enter the country and they get into very responsible positions in education, in in other areas of society, religion, etc. And they slowly but surely introduced socialistic views, which totally weakened the society. And that's exactly what's happened. Well, that happened also in religion, especially that very, very, very special religion, Jehovah's Witnesses. It's exactly what took place. We were being infantilized. Now, both Fran and I went to college. We've got whatever college we have. We weren't treated like children there. We just weren't. It was a competitive situation. You grow up, you're going to have people around you who are trying to do their best because they want to get a good job and they want to have a meaningful career. Well, they're not going to just be handed it to them. They have to earn it. And some failed, some did really well, others did mediocre and got through. But by and large, everybody worked at it. They had to. They had to deal with all their difficulties. There was no infantilizing taking place there at that point. It was slow but sure, though. It was being introduced, slow but sure. And then it ramped up fast after the 70s and the 80s. It just went fast. And so we saw that when we came into that organization, the Watchtower organization, we saw that they're treating people like children. It's like, this is going to grade school all over again. In fact, they won't ever let you get past kindergarten. To give answers from a book and not to go on and elaborate. It's like, this is worse than kindergarten. You'd flunk out to get to first grade if you couldn't formulate a sentence and go to the next step. You just wouldn't make it. But see, they did that there because the goal was to keep you immature spiritually and emotionally and socially immature. unfortunately. So if you really went along with the program, which many did, you're going to be socially um, not advanced, but socially held back, retarded, not advanced at all. So in order to make social advancement, you would need to have had challenges to work hard to meet them and then to achieve them.
I remember, well, maybe you remember when they had the 2 watchtowers.
Mhm.
So they had the simplified
Oh, yeah.
watchtower, and then they had the regular watchtower. In the regular watchtower, there was a time when we had to
Oh,
have
yeah.
our dictionary.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have, computer or phone to look up. We had our dictionary, and we had to go to the dictionary and look up what the word meant because, the watchtower studies were pretty in depth. And
They were.
then after that, they came out with the simplified one because they knew that there were people that were not keeping up with it.
Well, no, but think about this too. If people were to go to the dictionary
Mhm.
and to research words, what was the danger there?
That they were going to develop critical thinking and
Open themselves to more
have more
information.
information.
Well, the
Yeah.
society realized, whoa, put the brakes on that one. No, 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 no. See, they realized they were helping people to mature and advance. They said, we don't want that. We never should have done that. Go back to the dumbed down version. We want to keep these people emotionally, socially, spiritually, in every way infantile,
Yeah.
so that they'll depend on the society and not themselves. They wanted dependent people, slaves, as it were. Slave. They liked their slaves. They liked people who would build the kingdom house without money. They liked that. And the only way they could do that is to get people to stay connected with them is to keep them dependent. You come to us for everything. Don't you go anywhere else. You don't have to look anywhere else for your food or for your information. Well, okay, fine. What does that result in? Do people get along in the rest of society when they've been raised that way?
No.
And that's exactly what we're finding. We're finding that a lot of the friends the born in ones in particular, express that they have a hard time making friends. It's like, wow. I mean, there are a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people out there who are looking for friends and looking to be a friend.
But don't forget, they were always taught that the world and worldly people are bad
Yeah.
and don't trust them.
Yeah.
So now, if you leave and you're an ex-Jehovah's Witness
Yeah.
and you have a hard time making friends, it's because in the back of your mind, it's like worldly people are bad.
So it's not to belabor this. What's the point? The point is, if you've been held back, you need to catch up. You need to catch up. Why? Because if you don't catch up, you're gonna, well, you're gonna continue to miss the boat, so to speak. That boat that gives you a better job, that gains you more friends, that gains perhaps a mate if you're looking for a mate, or just a situation where you have a career and meaningful activity among other people and groups and enjoyment. You're going to miss all that. You're going to miss it all because that's exactly what the society tried to do to keep you as an infant so you wouldn't get involved in all that stuff. That stuff is your life. All that stuff that the society was warning you against is your life. The only life you have. The only life you possess. They've gotten you to reject it by staying an infant. Well, the hopeful part is you're not dead yet. You're not dead. You're not dead. You're alive. But to know where you're at, you need to have what's called self-awareness. So in other words, what am I lacking? What is it about me that that is going to have a difficult time meeting up to the challenges around me. This is where self-awareness comes in. And you become aware of yourself when you study the normal, healthy patterns of a human being. And you do that by looking up normal, healthy relations. Just look it up online. There's so much information. There is so much information on YouTube, anywhere. Right now, if people remain ignorant, it's because they choose to. It's not for lack of information. It's not like, oh, I don't have enough money to go to a university and learn. You don't need to. There's the same information on YouTube that you'd get in a university. And the difference there is you can focus. In the university, you probably wouldn't be able to focus for a lot of reasons. You know, so many distractions. Here, you key in on a certain aspect of your personality, of your skills, of your ability, of your awareness, and do some research on that. Oh, well, I don't even know where to begin. Well, ask someone else, someone who's done it already, like an older person who wasn't raised one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Ask them. They'll tell you. They'll be more than happy to help you, especially if they love you. If they don't love you, forget it. Go somewhere else. That's how you know. Is if someone is concerned about what you're doing and your progress that you're going to make. Because the goal is to have goals, to have an objective. Think of any kind of an objective.
Yeah, a person that's leaving, they could have the goal of, okay, I'm going to try to reach out and make friends. This week, I'm going to talk to somebody different that I never talked to before. Or I'm going to start a conversation that I normally would shy away from.
Now, when you say conversation, and the witnesses taught people how to be quote unquote conversational.
Yeah, I don't mean that
But
kind
that
of
was
conversation.
the conversation there was for promoting
No.
the organization.
Yeah.
It's not what we're talking about. No, born-ins and people who are in that organization were taught how to be promoters, kingdom, corporation promoters. They weren't designed to be human beings carrying on a conversation with other human beings so as to form a, connection with them.
Yeah, like
Was it?
interest, like what are you interested in and what's the other person interested in? I think that was
Oh,
one of the
yeah, but
first
they're not
things.
interested in the same thing I'm interested
Well,
in.
that's okay. You can,
Really?
Yeah, you don't have to be, because that's what diversity is.
Ah.
And that's what helps us to,
See,
stretch.
you will learn if you have a conversation or if you spend time with a person that has a different point of view. You're going to learn something because you need to, and they're going to too as well. Now, if you find that there's absolutely no place in your life for it, or if it's harmful, well, it's a different story.
Yeah, I'm not
You break
recommending
off.
that.
But
Right.
see, the adventure is that there's information that you need. You need it, and you're not going to get it by hiding and by isolating yourself, or by drawing away from someone who voted different than me, or who's got a different hair color than me, or whatever. There's so many differences that you can pick on, but so what? You're different and you're strange. So what? We're all strange. But as soon as you get to know the other person, you're not strangers anymore. You're not.
Yeah.
Come to find out they're just like you, and you're just like them. There's a way to learn. There's information out there. It has to do with self-awareness, emotional maturity, social skills, successful social skills, and having objectives to meet those different abilities. You're not going to do everything all at once, but See, you didn't do it when you were in that organization. You actually were discouraged to. You were forbidden to, for goodness sake. See, we're talking to people some people who were prevented from doing what they wanted to do. There were young ones that didn't want to be in that organization. Their parents forced them. They forced them to stay in. And frankly, they have hatred for their parents as a result of that. And now there's a bitterness. But see, get over the bitterness and do something for yourself now. It's going to be harder, there's no question, but it's hard anyway. Even it's hard for young people who are doing it in the world. Earlier, it doesn't make too much difference. Now, at least, you're older, you have a little more awareness, and there's much more information out there than there ever was before. Much more. The only information that we had out there was encyclopedias in the library, and that was for people who would go out of their way to use them.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
so much more.
Oh my goodness. Oh dear.
Yeah. Interesting. One point they talked about in the video I picked up was that in cults, they isolate you.
Oh,
There's
very
a lot
much
of
so.
isolation.
Wow.
And so and now that's what they do in the Watchtower. And if you don't like someone the way they voted, well, you don't have to spend the holidays with them, they said.
Oh
That
yeah.
was
In fact,
their
they're encouraging
advice.
people
Right.
to avoid that.
Right. So
That is
that's
so
the
damaging.
same thing when we supposedly get removed, disassociate. We're isolated from our family.
Yeah. Can you imagine what if there was a kindergarten, and if you taught kindergarten, you could have because
Yep.
you're K through 6. Um, if some child didn't like what the other child was coloring or whatever, would you draw them off separate from each other?
No, you put them together. Usually you put them in groups so that they
Yeah.
can learn from each other.
Yeah, expose them to each other because they get to learn. You're no more special than the other person. You're no less special. You're important, like the other person's important. Learn it, accept it, deal with it, find the joy in it. See, there's a attitude changes that need to take place because we find that a lot of the attitudes of the born-in ones are still in the organization. They're still theocratic attitudes, and they don't make it. They just don't make it with normal society. They're unloving. And they're destructive and hurtful for you, for anyone that practices them. Society knew what they were doing. The society knew what they were doing. They were cultivating, grooming a nation of slaves, mindless slaves, people that had a mind, but not for their own use, for the organization. They knew what they were doing. They knew. And this is where, going back again to Rutherford, Joseph Rutherford, Judge Joseph Rutherford. I want you to think about this. He has become my biggest hero. As much of a creep as he was, he told the truth. He warned everybody. He said, religion is a snare and a racket. No one has ever spoken more true words than he. And he gave it freely. He pronounced it. But the problem is, we didn't know what he was talking about. You didn't know what he was talking about, but he knew what he was talking about. He knew. He knew. Now we know. Now we know. So in a way, we can thank him for telling us, but we can't thank ourselves for responding to it in time. But that's the nature with people like that. They've got this something called duper's delight. They're duping you. They're fooling you. And they're telling you how they're fooling you at the same time, but you don't know, and you can't understand the hint. but they're fooling you, and they're giving you the hint, and they know you don't know the hint, and they're going to get you. Well, that's exactly what they did. They snared people. Now what do? Now you develop the skills to extract yourself from that snare and restore your life and gain a life that you can have. There are others who did not grow up in that organization. Some had it better. Some had a better upbringing. Some had a worse upbringing. You don't have to be part of that organization to have your life ruined. You can have grown up in another type of area, or situation, and had your life ruined. But yet, those people still did something to restore some sense of value to their life. You can do that. And honestly, now more than ever, there's more opportunity than there ever was. Because the knowledge is there. And interactive situations are there with other people who know. You have so many people who can support you, who you can do it with. Look for groups that are supportive of the same kind of skills and objectives that you have. And if you don't know about them, well, ask someone, seek either a counselor as you need, therapy, psychotherapy, psychiatry, doctor, whatever you need. Go out of your way and you'll learn. And keep it open with other people who love you. Let them know what you're going through. It's the only way that you're going to overcome whatever isolation that they did to you. It's the only way, by opening your world up. There's people that love you. I mean, we love you. We saw that as much as the society said they love us, we realized they don't love us. They don't love us at all. Not in the least. Not in the least. They just said it to fool you, to fool us. Well, the smart ones are getting out because they know they don't love you. Well, you're wise. You're wiser. You know they don't love you. They just love your work. They love the fact that we could have grown their organization and given them a very powerful real estate corporation. Very powerful. We did that. We provided it for free. Well, you're not providing it for free anymore. Good for you. Neither am I. Now we've got to work on ourselves. So if there's information out there, information that you wouldn't have looked at before, now's the time. Now's the time to look at it. Research information, be it religious research, myth type research, the myths of society, the different religions, the political, the governmental type of awareness and information. It's out there. The only information that you're going to avoid is the one you're afraid of.
Yeah. I found that once we left, I had so much time.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're not studying for meetings, we're not going to meetings, not going out in service. So I started reading, and I read more books in the last 3 years that we've been out than I probably read, well, other than when I was in school.
Yeah. You like to read.
I do.
Some people don't like to read.
I know.
They don't have to.
No, they don't
Someone
have
can
to.
read to them.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse. There's no excuse. Either you read because you like to read, or listen to someone who will read on a Kindle, or the books that they'll relate on a YouTube or somewhere. There's no excuses. No excuses whatsoever. So check out your fears. Think about your fears. Whatever you're afraid of, you're going to voice it. And think about this. The cave that you fear to enter holds the reward that you seek. Your fears are only going to get in the way of everything that you desire. You've got to put your fears aside. If you don't know how, open it up to others. Let them know, because they're probably going through things like that too. And there's information as to how to overcome. Information allows us to overcome those fears. Information. And babies don't get much information because they don't know how to read. They only get what their mommy or daddy gives them. But as they grow and get the ability to read, oh boy, now they can get their hands on all sorts of reading material, all sorts. Well, you're at the point where you need all sorts of information. It's there. And let others help you. You know, if you have questions as to how to get started, well, seek others that have done it. Our number is available.
Yeah, let us know
We're
how
more
you're
than-
doing. Let us know where you're at.
Yeah.
If you need more information, if you need some ideas, if you want to be connected with someone that, you know, maybe you have some differing views and you want to talk to them and find out their views, we can do that. We can connect you.
And we're more than willing to accept phone calls. I think our
phone is right up
Yeah,
here.
a number
Call
that
after
call
the
us,
show.
call us when you can, when you
Yep.
want. We're Eastern Standard Time. We're in Central New York, so call accordingly.
Anything else?
No,
Yeah, normally, you know, we have long programs, but we're
No.
testing to see if the shorter programs are working out, if more people are interested in the shorter programs. And I think there's going to be an opportunity for folks to come on Wednesday
Yeah.
after this. So we'll see how that works out.
And what I want to leave you with is growing is the most exciting thing and challenging thing that you'll ever do. Learning and growing. It will be the new you that will excite you. It's you. Don't miss you. Don't miss it. So nice talking with you.
Yes. And
Or
as
at you.
Vern would say, live
Yeah,
your
keep
life
living your life with
with
love.
love. And we love you.
Love you.
Bye.
In the shadows of isolation's veil, where hearts grew
In making friends. Is he still doing? In making friends.